What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Yejide, and if it's your first time stopping by, you are most definitely welcome. Thank you guys so much for 2,000 subscribers. I really appreciate every single one of you, and I'm super grateful for every single one of you. So, guys, on today's episode, someone requested for this basket skirts. I'm going to be showing you guys in a few. So guys, if this is something you're interested in, this is a very simple style, so it's something you're interested in, let's get right into the video. So guys, this is what the basket skirt looks like. I'm going to be inserting the picture that was sent to me by the subscriber that requested for this. I'm going to be inserting the picture here. So guys, like I said, this is a very simple style. It's just a normal, pencil straight skirt and all of that. The only difference is the straps in between. You can see in between the layers, and this skirt is just 3 layers. So guys, I'm going to be drafting this on this piece of pattern paper first. So here's my starting point, which is my waistline. That is going to serve as my waistline. So guys, from the waistline, I'm going to mark the full length of this skirt, which is going to be 36 inches. Sorry that part is not showing here. So I went ahead to mark the 36 inches at another point. So from the waistline, I've gone ahead to mark my hip line, which is 8 inches. And as you can see, I'm extending that line. 8 inches is my hip line, and I'll go ahead to label that the hip line. So now I'll take my measurement on the waistline. I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, 28 divided by 4, that's 7 inches, and I'll add 1 inch as that and 1.5 inch as my seam allowance. So now guys, on the hip line, I'll do the same thing. My hip circumference is 39 divided by 4, that is 9.75, and I'm going to add 1.5 inches as my seam allowance. So I'll just connect what I have on my hip line back to my waistline. You can see. Then I'll come to the hem of the skirt, 75 as my hip circumference divided by 4. I had that on the hip line. Then now on the hem line, I'm just going to add 1 inch to that. So on this hem line, guys, I'm going to be marking 10.75, right? So as you can see, I've gone ahead to mark 10.75 inches here. And guys, the next thing now is to connect that back to what I had on my hip. Just connect this with my straight ruler. Yeah, this is very simple to do, guys. So yeah, that is it. I'm done with the front pattern. I'm just going to cut this out. Like I said, this is in the form of a normal pencil skirt, or just like a straight skirt. Yeah, so now guys, the next thing now is to start creating our divisions. So now guys, from the hip line, I'm going to come down by 5 inches, and I'm going to extend that line. So guys, this first part here, this is the first step of the skirt. From the waistline to this part is the first step, and as you can see, I've gone ahead to label. So now guys, the next thing, from that line, I just came down by 3.5 inches, and I'm going to go ahead now to extend this line. This is the second step, and this part here is going to be for the strap. After the first step, we have the strap, then the other step before the the strap. So that is that for the strap. So guys, from the strap, I'm going to come down again by 4 inches. Just follow me accordingly, don't get confused or lost. So from this strap, I came down by 4 inches, and I went ahead to also extend that line. So yeah guys, this part here is the second ankara part. After the first step, we have the strap, then the ankara. Then from that point again, I came down by 3.5 inches. This is the second strap. And as you can see, I've gone ahead to extend that line also. So yeah, I'm just explaining everything I've marked. So yeah guys, this is the second strap, this new line I just created. So guys, the last part is the remainder. That is where the full ankara is. That's the hem. So I'll just take this again. As you can see, from the hip line, I came down by 5 inches to create my first division. That's the first part, the ankara. Then I came down from there by 3.5 inches. That's the first strap. Then I came down by 4 inches. That's the second ankara. Then from there, I came down again by 3.5 inches. That's the second strap. And the remainder is the last part of the ankara. So I'm just going to slit this accordingly. You can see that's the first part, the second part, then the third part, here is the I'm just labeling this for easy identification. So here is the third part, the fourth part, and the fifth. You can see. So we have 5 pieces all together. You can see this is the first part, the ankara, then the strap, ankara again, strap, and last part, which is the ankara. So guys, I'll just arrange this very well. You want to make sure you arrange this in a way that you recognize each one of it. So now guys, the next thing now is to cut on my fabric. This is the fabric I'm going to be using for this skirt. So I'm just going to place my patterns on the fabric. So guys, I'm going to be using this same pattern to cut for the back part. The back part, the only difference is that it has, you know, zipper allowance. So guys, when cutting, make sure that you leave about ½ of an inch at the hem of each pattern you are cutting, you know, for joining allowance. You can see at the end of this, you can see that allowance I left there. So guys, that is the first part, which is the ankara part. So now guys, the second part, the second step is the strap. And now what I'm doing, I'm just taking measurement of this strap. You can see it is 3.5 inches. So guys, I'm going to be cutting out the straps. Now remember that the straps are not full. All right, so guys, I'm going to add 1 inch allowance to that for folding. So the wideness is 1.5 inches. You can see the wideness is 1.5 inches, and the length, I'm going to make it 4.5 inches. Like I said, remember that the length is 3.5 inches, so make sure to add allowance to that. So yeah, I've gone ahead to cut 4.5 inches by length and 1.5 inches by width. So guys, I'm going to be cutting more of this. For the front part, we need 4 pieces of strap for the first step. 4 pieces of strap. So I've gone ahead to cut about 8 pieces for the first strap, the first step, and also the second step. You know, we have 2 steps of straps at the front and also at the back, so you can just go ahead to cut everything together at once. So now guys, this is the second base. You know, after the first ankara, we have the strap, then we have the you know, the second full ankara part. So you can see I'm just using my office pins to hold this down to the fabric, and again, don't forget to add your sewing allowance to that. So guys, this is the second part of the ankara. So guys, the third part is the strap. So I'll just repeat this again. You know, like I said, you can go ahead to cut the straps at once, but I'll just, you know, cut this again. This is the second step of the strap, right? I hope you don't get confused. So guys, the last part here is the full ankara part, which leads to the hem of the skirt. And again, don't forget to leave your sewing or turning in allowance to that. So here it is guys, for the last part of the skirt, the last step. So I've gone ahead to cut that out, and I didn't forget also to add my sewing allowance. You can just use like ½ of an inch. So yeah, so guys, I've gone ahead to cut every single piece. This is what they look like. You can see those ones that don't have the ankara are the straps, don't forget. So now guys, I'm going to be using every single one of these pieces to cut out the back pattern. And like I said, for the back part, the only difference is the zipper allowance. So guys, before cutting for my back pattern, I'm going to leave 1.5 inches from the center back, 1.5 inches, which is going to serve as my zipper allowance. I'm going to do this from the top to the bottom, and I'll just cut this out. So you can see that this is very simple to do. I'm also using my, you know, front pattern to cut out my back pattern, and I'm just notching the zipper area so I'll know where the zipper allowance is going to stop at. So guys, this is for the first step. I'm just going to, you know, fold this together and keep it aside. So guys, this is for the second step of the ankara, and again, I didn't forget to add my 1.5 inches zipper allowance, and I've gone ahead to notch, you know, notch the zipper allowance areas. So guys, the last part, which is the full ankara that leads to the hem of the skirt, this is it, the last step of the skirt. Again, remember that I've already cut out the straps for both front and back together. So for the front part, you need 8 straps altogether. For the back also, you need 8 straps altogether. 4 straps at the first step, 4 straps at the second step, for front and back respectively. So guys, it is time to sew. For each of these pieces, I'm gonna have to cut out my lining piece for this. So guys, this is the first step of the skirt. You can see I've placed my lining on it, and I'm going to go ahead now to sew down the sides. I'll take this to my machine to sew down both sides. So here it is, guys. I've gone ahead to sew down both sides. So now, guys, I'm just going to turn this to the wrong side so I can show you the next thing I'm going to sew down here. So guys, at the edge of the skirt, remember this is the first step of the skirt, I'm going to sew down this edge like so. I'm going to cover this up. So here it is, guys. I've gone ahead to sew down the edge. Remember this is the first step of the skirt. So that part, that part that is not the waist part, that is where you're going to sew. So this part that is open is the waist part. So now, guys, the next thing now is to sew our straps. I've gone ahead to keep that first step aside. So guys, for the strap, I'm going to sew down just 1 inch. The remaining half inch is going to be for my zipper allowance. So you can see I'm just going to sew down 1 inch. I'm going to do this for the remainder of the straps. So here it is. You can see I'm just turning it inside out. So like I said, we need 4 steps for the first step. We need 4 straps rather for the second step, also 4 straps, not 4 steps. Yeah, so this is it. I'm gonna have to sew down the straps, and I'm just turning them inside out because the first strap comes after the first, the first step of the skirt. Yeah. So now, guys, the next thing is to place these straps on the first step of the skirt. You can see. So what I'll do is to get the middle of this hem. Then from the middle, I'll come to my right and mark 3 inches, and I'm gonna have to place my strap at that point. From the middle again, come to the left, mark 3 inches and place a strap there. Then from that strap, come to the left again by 4 inches, place another strap there. Then I'll repeat the same thing for the other part, 4 inches. You can see. So guys, you can see that these are 4 straps at the front. So you can see this is very simple to do. So I'll take this to the sewing machine now and sew this down. So here it is, guys. I'm gonna have to sew this down. So this is what it looks like. So now, guys, the next thing is the second step, that step that comes after the strap. I'm going to go ahead now to sew down the 2 sides. And yeah, so guys, as you can see, I'm gonna have to sew down the 2 sides. I'm just going to turn this to the right side. Then, guys, the next thing I'm going to do now is to fold this in. You can see this part. I'm just going to fold this in by 1/2 or 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to iron this down very well. I'm going to press this down so that this can help me later. So I'll take this down to my ironing table. So guys, this is what it looks like. You can see I'm gonna have to iron this down. Yeah, so this is what it looks like. You can see that this is laying very flat already. So it is very important for you to iron these parts. It is very important to iron it in. I'm going to show you guys why later. So now, guys, the next thing, I'm going to take the full length of what I have here at this part. I'm going to, because I'm trying to get the middle, so I'll just divide my tape into 2, and I'm going to mark the middle. So from the middle to the left and right, mark 3 inches. Then from the 3 inches, mark 4 inches, just like I did for the first step. And now, guys, I'm going to place my strap in between that fold I ironed earlier. Right, so I'll just place my 4 straps in between those parts, and I'm going to use my office pin to hold this down. Right, so yeah. So guys, the other part, I'm gonna have to sew that down. I sew that on the inside. So I hope you don't get confused here. If you don't understand anything, please kindly revert back to the video. You can simply just take this back and watch it as many times as you can. So guys, you can see that that part that is sewn, that is the part that is going to face the straps from the first step of the skirt. And another thing, guys, when you are placing your straps, you want to make sure that the straps align. You don't want your straps looking very scattered. I mean, the straps on the first step of the skirt and the second step of the skirt, you want to make sure they align together. So as you can see, I've used my office pin to hold them down. So the next thing is to take this to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew down this second part here. You can see this part I'm showing you. I'm going to sew everything down. Yeah, so this is it, guys. This is what it looks like. You can see it looking very neat already. I'm gonna add to sew that down. So guys, the last thing here now, this is the front part of the skirt, is the full ankara. That is the 3rd step of the skirt. So like I'm just going to place my lining on it. That is the last step of the skirt, and I'm going to sew down the edge, which is going to be the hem of the skirt, and I'm also going to sew down the sides. Yes, you can see I'm gonna have to sew down the edges and the hem of the skirt, and I'm just going to turn this inside out. So guys, this is what it looks like. All right, so now the next thing again, I'm going to fold this part in, and I'm going to iron both edges inside, just like I did for the second step. So this is what it looks like. You can see it looking very flat now. So why we iron the edges down is in order to, you know, create space or casing for the straps. You can see it. So that is why you need to iron down the edges. So I'll just use my office pins to hold down the straps to the last stage or the last step of the skirt. Yes, so this is what it looks like. And I'll take this to the sewing machine now, and I'll sew this down from one edge to the other. And that is basically it. We are done for the front pattern. Yeah, you can see this is very simple to do. I won't lie to you guys, it's, you know, it's time consuming. You know, you just want to dedicate like a whole day to make this. So yeah guys, we are done with the first step. So now guys, for the back pieces also, this is the first step. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine now, and I'm going to sew down the sides. You can see I'll sew down both sides, and I'll also sew down the ends of the first step of the back piece. Right, so here it is. I'm just turning them inside out. You can see what it look like, and I'm going to go ahead now to also iron them out. So don't forget that this is the first step of the back. I remember that for the back guys, we have two pieces instead of one because of the zipper allowance. Yeah, so this is it. This is what they look like. And now guys, the next thing now is to place our straps. You can see, so before you place your strap, make sure to mark out your zipper allowance, which is 1.5 inches. So from the zipper allowance guys, I got the middle of the skirt, and from the middle I went to the left and right by 3 inches respectively. And now guys, I'm going to place my straps on that on the two measurements that I've marked at this M of the first step. Yes, and I'm going to sew this down. You can see I'll repeat the same thing for the second side. Mark out your zipper allowance first, then from the zipper allowance mark the middle, try to get the middle of the skirt, and mark 3 inches to the left and right. Then place your strap at that point that you've taken the measurement at. Yes, this is very easy to do guys. So I'll take this to the sewing machine now, and I'll sew the straps down. Yes, so guys, I've gone ahead to sew the straps down. I'm going to keep this aside. Then guys, for the second step of this skirt that requires the ankara, I'm also going to sew down the edges and the hem of the skirt. Yes, you can see. So guys, I'm just going to turn this inside out like so. You can see what I'm doing. So guys, the next thing now is going to be to fold this in. I'm going to fold this in. I've gone ahead to do that. I went ahead to fold that part in so I can, you know, get it very flat. I went to fold it in and ironed it also so as to create casing for my strap, right? So guys, I'm just going to place my straps into the casing I've created. That is why it is important for you to iron in the edges. You just need about 1/4 of an inch on both edges, you know, just to create spacings for your straps. I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. I'm just using my chalk to note where the straps is going to be placed so I don't place them on the wrong part on my machine. So here it is guys, I'm gonna have to sew down my straps to the steps. So guys, these are the last part of the skirt, the last step. And like the former steps I've done, I'm just going to place my lining on them, and I'm going to sew down the edges and the hem of the skirt. So guys, the other part that is opened, you can see here, I'm going to fold this in again to iron. I'll repeat the same thing for the second side again, just to create casing for our straps. So you can see I've gonna have to iron them. So now guys, the next thing now is to place our second strap on the second step of the skirt. Yes, so that part that has casing on the second step, you can see, just open it up, place your straps, and again, don't forget that you want to make sure that your straps are aligned to the former one. You don't want to make them look rough or misplace them, right? So I'll just take this also to the sewing machine also to sew them down. I'll run a straight stitch from one edge of this step to the other. I'll do the same thing for the second side. Yes, so use your office pins to help hold down your straps so you can easily sew this on the sewing machine. So here it is, guys. I'm gonna add to sew down my straps to the second step of the skirt. So now, guys, it is time to place the last step of the skirt to it. So that part on the last step also that has the casing that you must have created with your iron, you want to make sure you place your straps inside that part. And me, I'm just using my chalk to note where my strap is going to stay. And I've also gonna have to use my office pins to hold them down, and I'm going to sew this down from one end to the other. I'll repeat the same thing for the second side. So you can see this is very easy to do. Just follow the steps accordingly. Yes, so guys, this is it. I'm gonna add to sew everything down, so you can see looking very fine. So guys, the next thing is to hold our dart. So from the zipper allowance part, I just went in by 3.5 inches, and my dart length for the back is 4 inches. Mark your nipple to nipple allowance, and the length is 4 inches. I'll repeat the same thing for the second side. From the zipper allowance, mark your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 and mark 4 inches as the dart length. That's for the back. So for the front, fold your skirt into 2, and from the middle, mark your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 and mark 3.5 inches as the length of the dart. I'll repeat the same thing for the second side. You can see my dart length is 3.5 inches. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine now to sew this down. So guys, this is what it looks like. I'm gonna add to hold down my darts. You can see. So now, guys, the next thing now is to place the back pieces on each other. You can see. So after placing them on each other like so, I'm going to subtract 1.5 inches for my dart, and I'm going to mark 7 inches. That is where my zipper is going to stop. So now, guys, you can see this is also 1.5 inches. So I'm going to sew this down from that zipper part where the zipper is going to stop to the end. So for the second step also, continue to mark your zipper allowance that you must have left there, 1.5 inches. I'm going to mark that. So this is where I'm going to be sewing on the sewing machine. Remember that these are the back pieces. So the same thing for the last step also. I'm going to mark my zipper allowance, and that is what I'm going to be sewing on the back piece. You can see. Then for the back piece, I'm not going to be sewing it all the way down. Remember to leave space for slits. So I just marked about 2 inches from the last step. Then the remainder of the space is going to be for my slits, so the skirt can be easy to walk in. So you can see I'm gonna have to join the middle of the back pieces. So the next thing is to place the front piece on the back piece, so I can take my measurement. So guys, I'm just going to take my measurement. You can see I'm marking my waist measurement, and the remainder of the allowance I'm going to slit it into 2, so I can mark that at both ends of the skirt. The next thing I'm gonna have to mark my hip line, and on the hip line I'm marking my my hip circumference divided by 2. Then the remainder of the allowance, I'm gonna have to slit it at both ends of the skirt, and I'm connecting that to the waist measurements. So guys, this is very easy to do, just like how you do for your normal pencil skirt. Just take your measurements on the front and back pieces together. Then whatever I have on the hem of the first step, I'm going to mark it on this second step. Remember that you want this to be like a straight skirt, so make sure you follow the measurement accordingly. Then from the last part, guys, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches instead of 1. Remember that you want to make this a pencil skirt. You don't just want it to be straight to the end. So I'm just going to make the hem of mine shaping a little bit. That's why I went in by 1.5 inches at both ends. And I'm going to take this to the sewing machine now, and I'm going to sew down everything I've marked here. So here it is, guys. I'm gonna head to join down both ends. The next thing now is to fix our band, so before we fix our zip. So now, guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to take the measurement of what I have on the waist. That is what will determine what I'm going to use to cut my band. So from one zipper part to the next or the other zipper part, take the measurement of what you have on your waist. And as you can see, I have about 31 inches. So for the band, you can see I'm gonna have to cut out about 34 inches. Just cut out excess, and you can see my band is 4 inches wide. When I fold this into 2, it is 2 inches wide, 2 inches on fold. Remember, 1.5 inches for band, and the remainder of the ½ inch is for joining allowance, joining the band to the waist. Then I'm going to fold the band into two, and I'm going to, you know, place it on the waist like so. Starting from the zipper area, I'm going to sew this down by 1/2 inch. So here it is, guys. I've gone ahead to fix the band to the waist. You can see it's looking very beautiful. So guys, if you are sewing this for a client, make sure to cut out that they call it scallop. Yoruba people call it etiaje. You don't want that showing in your customer's cloth, but if it's your cloth, if you like it, it's fine. So guys, the last thing now is to fix our zipper. So I'm just going to fix my zipper to the zipper allowance I left. So guys, we are basically done with the tutorial. This is what the finished look looks like. So guys, like I told you earlier, this skirt, you know, takes a little bit of time to make because of the straps. So guys, please don't forget to like this video. Please like this video, and also subscribe to my channel if you are not yet subscribed. Your engagement goes a long way for me. So guys, I'm going to see you all in the next video. Bye.